Hey guys, we're back. We were talking about honing, stoning, and stropping. And so I'd like to get into a little bit more detail about the honing operation. And, you know, I described to you the difference between all of these tools. And I'm just going to focus on a couple of them right now. This ceramic and this polished steel, essentially to kind of demonstrate to you what's going on with the edge. So, as I described earlier with my little piece of paper demonstration, most of the wear and tear comes from either the cutting board or the bone. Let's say if you're breaking down a chicken and you hit the bone, or if you're taking apart, let's say a peach, and you hit the stone and the stone fruit. All of that stuff can deflect the edge. So let's assume, and we'll demonstrate, or I'll demonstrate, that we have a smooth, polished, straight edge, actually a shavable edge. So here's a 8-inch carbon steel knife, and I'm looking for that push cut or that nice glide through without the sliding cut or the slicing cut. So as you can see, it basically will go through on its own weight. So that tells me in that area I have a polished edge, and we can confirm it with the rolled paper. Now I'm going to purposely deform the edge, the same thing that may take place over time as your knife is banging into the cutting board. And I'm going to do that with this polished steel. I'm going to rub this knife on this polished steel, and what I'm doing is purposely rolling the edge to one side. So as I rub the knife or drag the knife over this hardened rod, it's the same thing as if I roll this paper or drag this paper over the same steel. And I'm pushing the edge to one side. So I can feel it. I can feel the edge is pushed to this side with my thumb. And if I feel the other side, it feels completely smooth. So to prove that, or to prove to myself, let's try to do the push cut, which I just did with this same knife. And it no longer wants to cut. Not only will it not push cut, it won't even slide cut. And the only thing that's happened, this has no roughness to it per se. It's just a smooth, hardened rod. But the edge is small, like the diameter of a human hair, and I've just pushed it a little bit over to one side. And we can see how severely it affects the way that this knife wants to cut. It won't slide cut and it won't push cut. So some people, if they had picked up this knife and were trying to cut a tomato and the knife slid off the skin of the tomato, they would immediately want to go to the steel and rub the knife on the steel like this. And very often people will use quite a broad angle. If we use my paper as a demo, and let's say the edge is curled this much, if I push this piece of paper into the ceramic, what may happen is that I fold it over even more. I fold the edge over even more. And then if I went back to cut my fruit or my vegetable or the chicken, it's still going to slide. So then what do? You pick up the steel and you use more pressure, in which case we would actually fold that edge and then tear it off. So when you're going to use your hone, or when you notice that the performance of your knife starts to diminish a little bit, feel it with your thumb. And then it may, if the case that the edge is rolled, you can feel it right away. So I'm going to use a technique called back steeling. And basically, I just want to uncurl the edge. There's no point in me doing the other side because the edge is not on the other side. All of it is curled onto this one side. So if we use the paper example, there's no point in me rubbing the paper on this side. Basically, I need to just uncurl this bit of the paper, this one side. So you need a fair amount of pressure. I'm not sure if this can get picked up by the camera, but there's actually a standing wave where the knife edge is encountering the steel. So that's how much pressure I need to use. So it's probably somewhere to 4 to 8 pounds of pressure. So now I want to feel if the knife edge is actually straightened out, and I can feel that it is. So now, just to be sure, I'm going to use this action to make sure it's nice and centered. And the first few strokes have more pressure than the last few strokes, because all I'm trying to do is align that edge. I try to get it nice and straight. Now remember, this has no cut to it. It's not abrasive. We're just pushing this piece of material around. So if all that was successful, if I actually bent the edge over, straightened the edge back out, and got it in alignment, I should be able to cut the paper. Now, I tortured the edge a little bit in how far I pushed it over. So I might need a pinch more of this steeling to get it to cut the paper well. Now, because of how far I pushed it over, it may not come back to a nice, easy push cut. But that's actually remarkably good. I'm happy about that because I did torture it. So it'll do a sliding cut. So the point of all of that is the main purpose of these tools, these honing tools, is to align the edge, and the secondary function is to remove a little bit of material or to rough it up a little bit to give you an edge quickly, kind of on the fly, while you're working, while you're prepping, if the knife is not performing the way you want it to. So this is a maintenance tool to be used in between sharpening sessions, in between having to break the stones out. This will help maintain the knife for maybe up to a year before you have to go back to the stones. Again, that little demo that I did was a pretty harsh treatment of the edge by how far I pushed it over and then realigned it again. So remember, this tool is to align the edge or straighten the edge out, and then to remove a little bit of material, abrade a little bit of material away so that you can go back to cutting.